philosopher named Gilbert Ryle. He came up with this criticism where he discusses about an attack on Descartes' dualist theory. He mentions in his book published in 1940s, the concept of mind, that Descartes made a mistake while categorizing mind separate from body. And it's divided in 3 sections. The first one, he discusses what dualist theory is. And we already are aware of the dualist theory by Descartes. He summarizes it in first section. In addition to summarizing Princess Elizabeth's letter to Descartes in 1943, which discusses the same thing, and he follows Princess Elizabeth's criticism of Descartes' dualist theory, which goes as Descartes defined the theory as in 2 parts, mind and body. So, mind and body, he said, they interact in the spatio-temporal dimension, and that is how we, get ideas and we do stuff. But the problem lied with this interaction. The causal interaction he mentioned Elizabeth pointed out that what is the nature of this causal interaction? Is it mental? Is it physical? Because if it is any one of the two, it makes it impossible for one to define the other. Because according to her, mental cannot define the physical cannot define the mental. So Ryle calls this causal interaction transactions. He followed through the same criticism and said, well, mind cannot be separate from body. Because according to you, they interact in a sort of causal relation, they transact these interactions, and it is not possible for one to define the other. So he said that Descartes' division of mind and body is absurd, and he called it the absurdity of official doctrine. He likes to call these, he likes to make fun of the other people's concepts, and basically the absurdity of official doctrine. What official doctrine is defined by him, let's not go into definition. He just calls Descartes' dualist concept as official doctrine. He just gives a funny name to his dualist theory and calls it official doctrine. So what he says is, it is the dogma of the ghost in the machine. He says Descartes' theory is the dogma of the ghost in the machine. What is meant by this? Dogma, as you know, it is something, an idea which you are supposed to, take without questioning. Ghost, he refers to the mind, and machine is the physical body. So he says that this dogma of the ghost in the machine, it is entirely false, and not in detail but in principle. It is not false in detail but in principle. What he means by that is it is a category mistake. First of all, let's define a category mistake. According to Ryle, category mistake is something when you categorize an idea So he says it's a category mistake, as in he categorized one idea into a different logical type. The idea which doesn't belong to this category, he put the two into same. And he says his exact words are: mind, the belief that there is a polar opposition between mind and matter is the belief that they are terms of the same logical type. The belief that there is a polar opposition between mind and matter is the belief that they are terms of the same logical type. So according to him, if any two things are opposites of each other, they belong to the same category. Okay. A dog cannot be opposite to a cat. A male dog cannot be opposite to a female cat. A male dog can only be opposite to a female dog. So they belong to one category. So he says that he picked cats and dogs and combined them in one category. That's what he means by if something is opposite of one thing, they have to belong to the same logical type. Logical type is simply they have to belong to the same category. So, which takes us to the second section of his criticism, where he gives us an example of that famous university, Oxford University example, where he says that a guy visiting Oxford University for the first time, he goes there and he's shown that, okay, so this is Christ Church College, this is a museum which belongs to Oxford, and there are various libraries. He's shown the registrar's department, all those institutions that are clubbed into this university. And he asks, after taking a tour of Oxford, he asks, but where is the Oxford University? Are you getting the idea behind the example? So he makes a category mistake in a way that he places qualities, the individual qualities of a thing, they are supposed to belong to a set of qualities. So he takes all these qualities and he expects something different from these qualities. Let me illustrate this with another example by the same guy. Suppose a child is taken to watch a parade for the first time, and he watches the soldiers march in steps, and he watches every soldier, he sees their moves and he analyzes them, and he does whatever, and they do whatever they're supposed to do in the march. And he asks, but where is the infantry? The child asks, where is the infantry? The infantry is not a separate entity from the individual soldiers. An infantry is the collection, it is the collective set of all the tangible elements. What are the tangible elements? Soldiers and the movements they carry out. So, infantry is not a separate unit. It's not a separate entity that is to be discovered or that is to be understood. But the collection of all the soldiers marching together, parading together, is what the infantry refers to. So, application of this example is used by Ryle, and he says that individual soldiers represent tangible entities that the child can see. Tangible means perceptible by touch. Something which is perceptible by touch. Stable is tangible to me. Okay. And the infantry represents the collective term or the organizational concept encompassing all the individual soldiers. The child's mistake is a categorical mistake, thinking that the infantry is something additional to the soldiers, rather than understanding the infantry refers to the soldiers as a collective entity. The primary application of this idea is to the mind-body problem. He criticizes Cartesian dualism, which posits the mind as a separate, non-physical entity from the body. Yeah, this is important. What Descartes does is, he categorizes mind as a separate non-physical entity. Which is different from the physical body. So what he does is, he clubs them together. The two which are two opposites of each other. The two are mind and body. He understands mind as some non-physical entity. Okay, so there's physical, there's hands, there's eyes, there's nose, there's the whole body that is tangible, and then there should be something which is not physical, the opposite of it. And that's how Descartes divides them. So he says, okay, so there's nose, there's mind, there's eyes, there's tongue, there's lips. So there's images, there's ideas, there's impressions. So he draws the opposition. And that is what Ryle criticizes. He says that the mind is not supposed to be understood as in the opposite of something which is not physical. As in it's not the opposite of physical body, but it is the collection of the impressions and behavior of the physical body. It is not the opposite to physical body, but it is the collection of behavior and disposition of physical body. So that is the application, and which is also the third section of his criticism. He says physical actions and behaviors represent tangible, observable phenomena, while as the mind should be understood as a way of describing a complex set of behaviors and dispositions, not as a non-physical entity. Just as the infantry is not an additional entity beyond the soldiers, the mind is not an additional entity beyond the physical body. The mind is better understood as a way of talking about the organized pattern of behavior and abilities exhibited by individuals. So, this theory gives an important base to behavioral psychology, not the base of behaviorism, as he differed from the typical behaviorism. as in he chose dispositional analysis over strict empirical behaviorism. And what dispositional analysis is the dispositions. What do we understand by dispositions? These are the tendencies that one behaves accordingly. The tendencies one behaves in a certain way, one behaves in a certain way under certain conditions. Those are known as dispositions. And most importantly, he denies treating mind as an organ of sense. He denies mind as an organ of sense. He says when we talk about mind of a person, or when we talk about a person's mind, we actually talk about person's abilities, liabilities, and inclinations to do. Mind is the sensations, feelings, images which are the stuff of mind. The sensations, feelings, and images. One might take it as, well, sensations, images, and feelings are what generally mind does. But he says that it is the stuff of mind. The mind is itself the images, feelings, and sensations. It's not a separate entity. But the images, the sensations, the feelings that arise from the physical disposition and behavior, that is mind. And this analysis is close to what Hume and Russell